Minister, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today.
So I do want to talk about your announcement, but I do want to begin here, if you don't mind, with some comments that we heard from the Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston. As you know, there's still some 20,000 Nova Scotians without power right now. Premier Houston, essentially he's asking for more military support to actually address the issue. Is that something that's been discussed within Cabinet, been discussed with the Defence Minister?
Well, I can say that ever since Hurricane Fiona arrived on ground here in Atlantic Canada, we have been in touch with all premiers of all 4 provinces in order to assess what was needed on the ground. And as soon as the request came with respect to the military, we were very happy that Minister Anand was able to really put that into motion right away. The Prime Minister today has a bilateral meeting with Premier Houston, and I'm sure that whatever other needs are requested will be discussed today at that bilateral meeting. And again, we look forward to working collaboratively with all provinces to make sure that they receive the help that they need. We recognize that Atlantic Canadians are hurting right now in some areas, and we want to be there, and we will be there with them to support them during this very difficult time. I'm from Atlantic Canada myself. I live in Moncton, New Brunswick. We've been very fortunate in my area, but I know in other parts of Atlantic Canada and in eastern parts of Quebec, the damage has really been devastating. So we will be there to help them during their times of need.
Now, to that, we also did hear from the federal NDP leader today, Jagmeet Singh, and he is essentially calling on your government to provide an emergency wage supplement or at least make EI available to people who cannot work right now because of Fiona. Will that happen? Is that something that's being considered?
Well, first of all, today, Michael, being in Nova Scotia, we made an announcement today in order to provide financial aid to those in need. Through ACOA, through my department, we have announced a $300 million sum of money that will be available to those that will need it. This is a complementary pot of money, if you will, in order to assist people. If they don't qualify for existing programs that are already out there, they may be able to qualify for the funds. Requests that are going to be coming in, and also we're going to be working with other federal departments like the Department of Transportation, DFO, to make sure that when we receive those requests that they will be able to be assessed, and then from there we want to move forward in making sure that people receive the help they need. We recognize as well.
Sorry to interrupt, but in British Columbia, when there was flooding, EI was made available to people. I realize that the funding that you did announce today is meant to be complementary, but is there some type of EI rollout, for example, being thought of, considering that's infrastructure that already exists?
With respect to working with the provinces and territories, we've been very clear that we will continue to meet with the premiers, to work with the premiers on the ground, and then from there to assess the needs of what is needed, for constituents, for people in Atlantic Canada. We have always been there in order to help them during their time of need, and again, we'll continue to do so. We have to also recognize that a lot of assessments are still being done with respect to exactly what type of aid will be required in the short and the long term, but I certainly want to my message to Atlantic Canadians is that the federal government will be there. We will be a partner at the table in order to provide the assistance that is needed.
And as you noted, $300 million being earmarked for financial aid for the region. Now, your government is also providing financial assistance to the provinces through the disaster financial assistance arrangements. Talk to us about that, what that money will be used for, and how you distinguish that fund from the $300 million that you referenced earlier.
The Disaster Financial Assistance Program or arrangement is through the Department of Public Safety, and they will be managing those types of investments that will be made. Those arrangements are made through working with the provinces that have been affected, and those requests will be coming in. The announcement that we made today, however, is an amount of money above and beyond the Disaster Financial Assistance Program, because we certainly recognize that there may be some groups that won't qualify for that program, and we want to make sure that small and medium-sized businesses that have been impacted by the hurricane, that they will also have access to some funding. We recognize, again, that it could be restaurants, it could be tourism industries, but in Atlantic Canada, we also recognize that wharfs, small craft harbors have very much been affected by the storm as well. And again, we want to make sure that some monies are available in order to make those proper investments in order to make sure that that infrastructure is going to be taken care of. So there's a multitude of different programs that exist out there, let it be infrastructure programs or the DFAA program. Today, what we're announcing through ACOA is to make sure that this program is a complementary program, because we want to make sure if some folks don't fit into the existing programs that are out there, that this fund will hopefully be able to assist them in the rebuilding and in the recovery part.
Okay, I've got less than a minute, Minister. How quickly will those funds be made available? How quickly will they actually roll out?
I was extremely pleased that we were asked that the funds be administered and coordinated through ACOA. ACOA is our Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, a regional economic agency that knows the region very, very well. We have over 35 service offices across Atlantic Canada. The staff through ACOA and myself have been in touch with small and medium-sized businesses already through the course of this pandemic, through the course of the hurricane. And also, we've been in touch with mayors and premiers. So we certainly have the expertise. We can pivot very quickly in making sure that the criteria are put in place, because our objective is to make sure that the money is going to be rolling out very, very quickly. So in the next coming days, we'll be working on details of the criteria, the eligibility criteria, and then from there, we'll be moving with making sure that proponents will be aware of that, and we plan on moving and rolling out the money very quickly.
Minister Ginette Petitpas Taylor, always nice to speak with you. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much.